Guys, we're back. We're back, ladies and gentlemen. The final normal topic build guide. Obviously, we'll do more build guides in the future. They just might be a little bit more specific. Now that we've done the weapons, the 12 that are in the game at the time of recording, and grenades recently, it's time to hit melee. I was kind of holding out, just like you guys may have been, on actually seeing legitimate melee standalone weapons. A sword or an axe, I don't know. I mean, there was gameplay footage from years ago, that showed a sword. It also had the shield and everything, and that mechanic's been removed. Anyway, I digress, okay? We can still do a build guide for melees because there are still quite a few melee-related perks and just in general perks that will help with the close range combat of meleeing. So, here are your top priorities when building into melee. Off rip, this goes without saying, but you'll definitely want to be careful, especially at the beginning of your runs. Melee's strongish, 300 base damage, not bad, same as the sniper, but you still have to get close. You got to get up close and personal, and you don't really have a lot of range, so let's just nip that one right in the bud. Not the butt. Nip it in the butt is not the same. Anyway, we're going to increase our melee range with Big Claws. This is a rare perk. You can find it in the skill chest for some reason, and it just increases your melee range. Big Claws increases your range by 20% each level, so stack that a few times and all of a sudden you're at double the range. It's not quite as intense. You can relax a little bit, breathe, and just focus on movement and all the good things. Movement and all the good things you got to do in order to get a win with melee. Another rare perk that you should keep your eye out on is Sharp Claws. Sharp Claws is one of 2 melee perks that increases the literal damage of your melee. And this is normal perks. There's a greed perk, and we'll get to that later. This increases your melee damage by 100% per level. No drawbacks. The other one that I don't like as much is called Iron Claws. It increases by 150, but the cooldown in between your melees increases, which is a bad. I know the word increase might have seemed like a positive, but that cooldown increases, so you cannot melee as fast, and ultimately your damage per second is worse off in the long run. So now you've got more range, you got more damage, starting to get the gears turning, you're feeling good. But remember, we're talking about cooldown, how that's bad. There's actually a perk called Blender, another rare one, that decreases the cooldown. So instead of meleeing once every X number of seconds, you're meleeing more than once in that same amount of time, at least if you stack it high enough. At each level, it reduces the cooldown by 20%, and this is found in the speed chest. So, you know, at this point, we've got skill, damage, and speed chests that we were looking out for, but just how it is. These 3 main melee perks are the bread and butter of this build. You can take it a lot of different directions at this point, but these ones are the ones that you're going to want to be stacking to 10, 15, 20, or higher, you know, that level. Moving into some optional stuff that we can get into here. These are epic level. We've got some elemental melee related perks. Specifically, I'm talking about Ice Claws and Fire Claws. For some reason, there's no Lightning Claws and there's no Poison Claws. I don't really get that, but obviously Ice Claws will apply ice stacks and do a little bit of damage, and that was a nice voice crack, so. And then Fire Claws will do fire stacks and do a little bit of fire damage. This is going to be a personal preference thing. Sometimes it's nice to have ice to slow down and freeze your enemies, especially in close quarter melee combat. Other times you want that additional damage over time with the fire, especially if you're going on Namo runs, enemies are regenerating. Having fire is huge. These are elemental, so they're in elemental chests. If you do decide to go with one of these elemental claws, then you're going to want to pick up the corresponding supplementary elemental perks, right? So if you go fire route, there's a perk to increase the fire stacks called Fire Starter. There's a perk to increase your damage to burned enemies called Oil Can. And there's even a perk to just deal damage when they're finally done being on fire and they finally extinguish called Hot Steam. On the flip side, if you go ice, you increase the stacks with Ice Cold. You increase your damage to frozen enemies with Ice Cube, and damage when they unfreeze with Icebreaker. So again, really just depends which route you go, but you're gonna want these additional perks to make that element truly hit hard. Now let's get into some perks that kind of just complement the up close and personal nature of close quarters melee builds. Right off rip, you can enjoy a nice 50% damage boost per level with Danger Close. This is a good one. It's a rare perk, so not hard to find. It's in the damage chest, and it's a little vague, so bear with me here. It just says increases damage to close range, right? It doesn't find that. I've seen that it looks like about 10 feet. Now, what is a foot in this game? I don't know. For health, you can go a lot of directions. I've always been a fan of things like Regenerator, which regenerates health over time. We got Fortitude to increase max health each island, Endurance to heal after each island. But for this build, close range, we're going with Personal Space. I know. Personal Space. One of the worst healing items of all time, unless you're a freaking melee build, because this is 1 additional max HP for every 10 close range eliminations. Not that much. If you buy a heart, that's the same thing as killing 50, and this is a bronze heart, the worst heart, 50 HP to your max. That's 50 times 8 close range kills. So look, this thing's not going to scale like crazy, but if you get a few levels over time after 5 to 10 islands, oh hey look, you've got an additional decent little amount of HP. It's not bad. Take it if you find it, but don't prioritize it necessarily. Another example of kind of not the best perks in the category, but one that works well with your close range would be something like the econ perk Snatcher. Obviously payday or paycheck and various greed perks, or even just bonus crystals, stuff like that. It's gonna give you more income in the long run. But Snatcher, a 50% bonus crystals to enemies eliminated at close range. Again, close range, air quotes. You're gonna have to be close. But this econ rare perk, again, these are mostly rare. They're easy to find. Econ chest, obviously here. It's not bad. It's not bad. 50% is not that bad. I'm pretty sure bonus crystals at level 1 is only 50% due. So find it if you find it, and take it if you find it. I did mention some greed perks just now for econ. There is one greed perk that is specific to melee called Brawler. A 250% melee damage increase. Unfortunately, you lose 33% of your weapon damage, but we're going melee build. We don't care. That's a huge buff. So look, greed perks, they're hard to find. Maybe you get a greed totem, and then it's still RNG for which one you get. And then, God, if RNG's is literally your best friend, you might find a greed perk in the shop itself. But anyway, if you find Brawler, obviously take it. Huge, huge damage increase for melee. One final legitimate source of bonus damage, you could call it, for close range builds like a melee build would be auras. Thanks to a hefty range buff and even a cooldown reduction, which is a good thing, back in the June update 5 for early access, auras are massive. Like, auras are huge. They hit almost the entire island. Obviously, this varies by island size, but what used to be a very small radius, it was a large radius, but it was small compared to the whole island layout. It's now massive for all of the elemental auras except damage aura. Damage aura is the consistent ticking of damage in your immediate vicinity. That has stayed small, but all the other ones, specifically like ice aura or fire aura, which can complement your ice or fire claws, have massive range and they happen more often. So yeah, pick one up if you can. Finally, you guessed it, we're going to be talking about the shmovement, baby. We're getting into the shmovement. There's not a lot of shmovement perks, let's be honest. It's kind of the same ones each time, but here, more than most builds, they really do make a difference. You want to get in, get some good damage, and get out, especially on the strong enemies, the elite fights, the boss fights. It's very hard to just sit there swiping your melee and tank the giant ant attacks, right? It's just tough. So, stamina. This is a rare speed chest perk. Gives you extra dashes. Every level is an extra dash. You can start flipping around. You've seen my attack crab 130 build, an AC 130 build. You can just go crazy. If you're flipping around the whole time, it's very, very hard to get hit by those slow-moving large attacks from those strong enemies. And then the other one, Speed Demon. This is another rare, another speed chest, naturally. Just increases your movement speed. I think it's only 20% per level. Nothing too crazy, but stack it enough, and all of a sudden, you're sprinting around. You're moving faster. You're getting in, getting those hits, strong melees, and getting out of there. You're not forced to sit there in tight, uncomfortable positions, just getting swarmed up on. Well, there you have it. That was a lot. Take notes. Bookmark this video. Like it. Subscribe so you don't miss out on future content, build guides, dev updates, crazy challenge runs, and eventually, maybe, I'll just get my Diamond Namo wins all locked in here. Hopefully you enjoyed it. My name is Furnace, your second favorite F word, the #1 source for Crab Champions. And can I start continuing the saying of CEO of Crab Champions? Can we add a third? A third? A third? A third? How do you guys do 3 where you're from, huh? How we doing it? It's different everywhere in the world. A third motto to my stupid ass content creation stuff? Probably not, but anyway. That's enough rambling. Catch you in the next one. See you later.